Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something pretty wild today.
Sounds exciting.
It is. Buckle up. We're looking at this blog post, The Mystery of the Tetragrammaton, Part 3. It's on a site called YHVH, if you're curious.
Oh, I've seen that site. Lots of interesting stuff there.
Right. And this post is no exception. We're going to try to untangle all these connections, ancient Egypt, the human brain, biblical stories.
That's quite a mix.
Even some conspiracy theories sprinkled in.
Always going to have those, right?
Of course. But, okay, so get this. One of the first things the author says is that the Nile River might be a map of your brain.
A map of the brain. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Me too. So the author's suggesting the Nile is like a fractal representation of higher dimensions. And it mirrors the journey to the center of the brain.
I see. Not a literal map, of course. More of a metaphorical journey of consciousness, I'd say.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like a map of human potential, maybe even some hidden knowledge.
Exactly. And it gets really specific. The author connects the white and blue Nile tributaries to this idea of genetic hybridization. And the red Nile, that represents the rise of the Judeo-Christian era.
Wow.
And then they say these colors, white, blue, red, they're reflected in flags we see today, like an echo of that white, blue, and red Nile symbolism.
That's a pretty bold claim. What kind of evidence do they have for that?
Well, they don't really dive into historical evidence, more focused on the symbolism, the metaphors.
I see.
Like the genetic hybridization thing seems to be linked to those theories about ancient aliens influencing human evolution.
Right.
Definitely thought-provoking, even if the evidence is a little, shall we say, thin.
A little thin, yeah. But this author keeps going. They compare Mount Horeb and Mount Sinai to the pineal and pituitary glands, in the brain.
Oh, right. Those glands, like gateways to higher dimensions.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, tapping into those ancient beliefs about the pineal gland being like a third eye, a connection to spiritual realms.
Right. So the journey to these mountains, it's actually a metaphor for the inner journey, to awaken those parts of ourselves.
I like that. A great way to put it. And you know what else the author brings in? Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
And how do they connect that to the brain?
So they say that Adam and Eve actually represent the two hemispheres of the brain.
Interesting.
So the single unimodal brain, sometimes called Adam Kadmon, is replaced by this bipolar male-female brain, showing that split.
So Adam and Eve, not literal people, but about this dual nature of our brains. Logic and intuition, maybe even good and evil.
Precisely. They're saying it's a coded message about how human consciousness evolved. And you want to know what this leads to?
What's that?
One of the most intriguing, maybe even a little unsettling ideas. The moon matrix.
The moon matrix. Ooh, that sounds ominous.
Right. So they argue that this moon matrix imprisons our right brain, the creative, intuitive side.
Okay.
And it pushes this left brain dominant worldview, all about materialism.
So we're trapped in a system that's stopping us from reaching our full potential, our creativity, our spiritual awareness.
That's the idea. And they link this to the monarch mind control program. Like it's a microcosm of this bigger astral programming that's happening to all of us.
Wait, monarch programming, that's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, very controversial, but they're using it as a metaphor for how we might be manipulated by forces we don't even realize.
I see.
They compare the trauma techniques of monarch programming to the cyclical traumas we experience as a society. Wars, death, economic hardship.
Right.
It's like these are all part of a system that keeps us locked in this limited state of consciousness.
Whoa. That's pretty heavy stuff. Is there anything to back this up? Or is it all just speculation?
Mostly anecdotal examples, not much hard evidence or research. But I think they're trying to get us to think differently, question everything.
I can see that. But even with all this talk of control and manipulation, they do offer some hope, right, with Michelangelo.
Ah, yes, the creation of Adam painting. They analyze it and suggest it might actually depict the human brain.
Really?
God's finger. They say it represents a synaptic cleft, that space where neurons communicate.
So Michelangelo secretly encoded ancient knowledge about the brain, right there in plain sight.
That's what they're proposing. And this ties back to the brain being the real portal to the kingdom of God, or at least a higher state of consciousness.
I'm starting to see the connections here. The Nile, the pineal gland, Michelangelo. It's all pointing to this idea that the true power, the knowledge we seek, it's already within us.
Exactly. And this brings us to something else the author explores, Gnosticism, and the idea of a counterfeit creation.
Okay, Gnosticism. For those who aren't familiar, can you give us a quick rundown?
Sure. It's a complex belief system But basically, it says the material world is an illusion, a flawed creation by these lesser deities called demiurges.
So kind of like the Matrix.
Exactly. We're trapped in a simulated reality, unaware of our true potential. And the author connects that to the Gnostic idea. We're living in a world that's not what it seems, controlled by forces we don't understand.
And they say organized religion and the media help perpetuate this.
Right.
Keeping us distracted, disconnected from who we really are.
That's the argument. And it links to this idea from Gurdjieff, the philosopher who said most humans are just automatons.
Automatons.
Operating on a limited level of awareness. They say it's because of a hijacked brain template. We're programmed to think and behave in certain ways.
So we're all sleepwalking through life, oblivious to the real reality.
Basically. But they think there's a way to wake up, to break free from this programming. And the key, the Tetragrammaton and the Ben stone.
Okay, the Tetragrammaton and the Ben stone, those are the keys to unlock ancient knowledge.
According to the author, yes. The Tetragrammaton, that's the 4-letter name of God in Hebrew, YHVH.
Right.
And the Ben stone, it's a sacred object from ancient Egypt. They think these are connected to lost Atlantean technology.
Atlantean technology. Now that's getting interesting. What kind of technology are we talking about here?
This is where it gets really wild. They think the pyramids might contain holographic RAM technology, activated by rotating a capstone at a specific time and place. And the key to that activation, the Tetragrammaton. Like a password.
Wow, that's quite a theory. Is there any evidence for this? Or is it just speculation?
They don't give any concrete evidence, but they do point to some interesting things. Like Charles Taze Russell, the founder of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, yeah.
He had a pyramid-shaped grave marker. They suggest he might have known about this ancient technology.
So they're connecting ancient Egypt, biblical stories, conspiracy theories. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But it definitely makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this whole Tetragrammaton as a password thing. How does that even work? What's the connection to the pyramids?
They suggest each letter corresponds to a side of the rotating pyramid, like a code to activate its hidden power. But it's not just the password and the location. Timing matters too. They say it can only be activated at a specific moment in time.
Fascinating. So the ancients knew about time and space in ways we're only beginning to understand. But if this technology is so powerful, why hide it like this? What were they trying to protect us from? Or maybe protect themselves from?
That's a good question. And honestly, they don't really answer it. But they do hint at the danger of this knowledge falling into the wrong hands. Maybe we're not ready for it.
Not ready.
Maybe we need to evolve first. Awaken our right brains, our spiritual awareness. Then we can safely access it.
That makes sense, like giving a child a loaded gun.
Exactly. But if we do evolve, break free from that moon matrix, what then? What kind of world could we create with this technology?
The possibilities are mind-boggling.
They are. They give a few clues, suggesting it could give us control over matter, energy, maybe even time itself.
That's incredible. It raises more questions than it answers, though.
Yeah, I think that's the point. They're not giving us all the answers, just sparking our curiosity, encouraging us to explore these ideas ourselves.
This has been a really stimulating conversation so far. I'm definitely ready to dive deeper into the specifics of this ancient technology, what it can do, how it might work.
It's really interesting how they use the movie The Fifth Element as a metaphor, for unlocking this hidden knowledge.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, the 4 stones representing the elements,
right, yeah.
They could be like the letters in the Tetragrammaton.
I see. So we need all the elements, the password, the location, the timing to make it work.
Exactly.
But, okay, this next part, this is where it gets really wild. Yeah. They say that ANRI on the cross might be a clue pointing to the pyramids as the true location of the crucifixion.
That's a bold claim for sure.
NNRI as a clue to the pyramids.
It's definitely controversial. They suggest NRI could be like a pun on
NRI?
NRI. Yep. Yeah, referencing both Nibiru and NALFRI.
Wow.
And the 3 crosses, Jesus and the 2 thieves. They could symbolize the 3 pyramids.
So the crucifixion didn't happen in Jerusalem. It's a coded message about the pyramids and their technology.
That's what they're saying. It's a very different way of looking at history.
Very different. And then they bring up this idea of 2 opposing forces fighting for control of this technology throughout history.
Ah, yes, that classic battle.
A secret war in the shadows.
Could be. One side wants to liberate this knowledge. The other wants to keep it hidden.
Who are these forces? Do they give us any names?
They point to groups like the Knights Templar, the Nazis.
Oh, okay.
Even those who created communism, they say. all connected to this struggle.
That's a pretty diverse group. Knights Templar, Nazis, communists. What's the evidence linking them?
It's more like hints and suggestions than solid proof.
Okay.
With the Knights Templar, they talk about their fascination with sacred geometry and their supposed discovery of hidden knowledge in the Holy Land.
I see.
And with the Nazis, they focus on their obsession with the occult and their expeditions to Egypt looking for ancient artifacts.
Right. Yeah.
And as for communism,
Yeah.
they suggest it was created to control access to this knowledge, keep it from the masses.
So it's like a grand conspiracy theory weaving together history and esoteric knowledge.
It is. Exactly. It challenges us to consider the possibility that there are hidden forces at play, shaping our world.
You know what else I find interesting? This emphasis on four-letter words.
Yeah.
Especially the Tetragrammaton.
Ah, yes, those thread words.
They seem to think those words hold a special meaning, like keys to unlock more of this hidden narrative.
They do seem to place a lot of significance on them.
They give a whole list. YHVH, Inrai, Eden, Love, Halhim, Venus, Horeb, Sinai, Earth, Egypted. It's like they're saying these words have a deeper resonance, connecting us to something ancient and hidden.
A secret code just waiting to be cracked.
Right. And there's more. Moses, Aaron, Logos, Cross, Jesus, Simon, Peter, Mars, Moon, Nous, Orion, Paul. It's like a treasure map, but we have to figure out where it leads.
That's what makes it so fascinating. It's not just about giving you information. It's about inviting you to participate. Decode the symbols, piece together the truth.
Like a giant puzzle with no picture on the box.
Exactly. And they seem to think language itself is the key. The true meaning of the logos, the word, has been lost or distorted.
The word.
You know, from the Gospel of John, they say in Gnostic wisdom it's about much more than spoken or written words. It's about the creative force of the universe, the divine spark within each of us.
So we're not just passive receivers of information. We have to become active creators of meaning.
Yes, use language as a tool to unlock our own understanding.
And that connects back to awakening our right brains, our intuition, our creativity.
Exactly. It's the key to breaking free from the programming, they say.
So we need to learn to think differently, see the world with new eyes.
And by understanding how they're manipulating us, recognizing those patterns and symbols,
Right.
we can start to deprogram ourselves and reclaim our power.
So it's not just about knowledge, it's about transforming how we see the world, waking up to the true nature of reality.
And that's where Gnosticism comes in.
Okay.
They believed the material world is an illusion, a trap,
Right.
to keep us from realizing our spiritual nature.
I see.
We need to adopt that same perspective, they say, see through the illusions and reconnect with our divine essence.
This is all very thought-provoking, but I have to be honest, it's a bit overwhelming too. It's like opening a Pandora's box of ideas. I'm not even sure where to begin.
I get it. It's a lot to digest. Just keep an open mind. Stay curious. They don't claim to have all the answers, just a different way of looking at things.
And maybe that's the point. Maybe it's not about finding the answers, but asking the right questions.
Exploring the mysteries with a sense of wonder and possibility.
You're right. It's the journey that matters.
The journey itself is the reward.
This deep dive has definitely challenged me, made me see things in a new light.
That's the power of these kinds of ideas.
It's made me question everything I thought I knew.
They shake us out of our comfort zone, force us to re-examine our beliefs.
Exactly. And they open up new ways of understanding ourselves and the universe. You know, one thing that really stands out to me is how much the author talks about the right brain.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like they're saying our modern world, all focused on logic and technology and success, has suppressed that part of us. The intuition, the creativity, the spiritual awareness.
It's like we've become too left brain dominant.
Right, exactly.
And they tied this back to the moon matrix idea.
Ah, right.
If the moon represents that rational, logical mind, then the moon matrix is that worldview that prioritizes it.
Makes sense. We're so focused on the external, controlling and measuring the world that we've lost touch with our inner world.
That connection to something bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. And to access this hidden knowledge, this potential, we have to reawaken our right brains.
That's what they say.
And they suggest things like meditation, creative expression, connecting with nature.
Those right brain activity.
Yeah. So it's not just about cracking codes and symbols. It's about changing how we exist in the world.
Shifting our perspective.
Seeing things through a more holistic lens.
I like that. It's about moving from a purely rational, materialistic view to one that embraces intuition, imagination, and how everything is connected.
And this brings us back to Michelangelo. the creation of Adam.
Oh, yeah.
They say it depicts the human brain right.
Right.
And that suggests the divine spark, the source of creation, is within us.
It aligns with that Gnostic belief that we are divine beings.
Wow.
We've just forgotten our true nature.
So the kingdom of God is actually a metaphor.
For that awakened state of consciousness, when we reconnect with our own divinity.
Powerful stuff. So the true power isn't out there in some deity or technology. It's within us.
Exactly. It all comes back to self-empowerment.
Even when they talk about ancient Atlantean technology, the key is still our own consciousness.
Right. The tools and symbols can help us access that knowledge, but the real transformation is internal.
So the pyramids, the Tetragrammaton, the Ben stone, they're just guides.
Exactly. They point the way, but the journey happens within.
Like they're saying, don't look for the truth out there, look for it within yourself.
That's a great way to put it. In a world full of distractions, it's easy to forget our own inner wisdom.
This blog post has been a real journey for me. I've learned so much.
Me too.
It's challenged me to question everything and consider new perspectives on history, consciousness, reality.
And even if we don't agree with everything they say, the questions they raise are valuable.
Absolutely.
It sparks curiosity, an invitation to explore.
So it's been a fascinating discussion.
It has.
We've covered so much. The Nile as a brain map. The pyramids, an ancient technology. The crucifixion as a coded message.
We talked about the Tetragrammaton, the moon matrix, the battle for hidden knowledge.
A wild ride, for sure. And even though we don't have all the answers, we've definitely gained some insights.
Definitely.
This blog post reminded us of the power of language, the importance of intuition, and our own potential to unlock the truth.
It's been a pleasure discussing all this with you.
The pleasure was all mine. And to everyone listening out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep. You never know what amazing discoveries are waiting just around the corner. Until next time, keep searching for your own truth.
And remember, the journey is the reward.